You are currently standing on a thin crust that is less than 1% of the total mass of our planet. We have sent probes to the edge of our solar system and mapped the craters on the far side of the moon. Yet the world just a few miles beneath your feet remains more mysterious than the deepest reaches of outer space. Humans have spent centuries looking up at the stars while completely ignoring the massive engine churning right under their boots. We imagine the ground is solid and still, but it is actually a moving and shifting world of extreme pressure. Deep inside our planet, there are oceans of water trapped in glowing rocks and forests of crystal taller than skyscrapers. There are massive blobs of strange material the size of entire continents that scientists still cannot fully explain. The deeper you go, the more the laws of physics seem to twist and change in ways that defy our logic. We are living on the skin of a giant cosmic machine that we are only just beginning to understand. In this video, we are going to peel back the layers of the Earth to see what is really happening down there. We will look at the record-breaking holes humans have tried to dig and why we always have to stop. You will see evidence of a hidden ocean that contains more water than all the seas on the surface combined. We will also explore the spinning heart of our world, which might be changing its rotation at this very moment. This is not a story of dead rock and dirt, but a journey into a living and breathing planetary system. To understand how little we know, we have to look at our best attempt to actually reach the inside. Back in 1970, a group of Soviet scientists began drilling a hole in a remote corner of Russia near Norway. They wanted to go as deep as possible to see what the crust of the Earth was actually made of. This project became known as the Kola Super Deep Borehole, and it remains the deepest man-made point on Earth. They drilled for 24 years trying to reach the mantle, but they barely scratched the surface of the planet. The hole reached a depth of about 7.5 miles, which sounds like a very long way down. But when you compare it to the distance to the center of the Earth, it is almost nothing at all. If the Earth were an apple, the Kola borehole wouldn't even have broken through the thickness of the skin. The scientists found things they never expected, like microscopic fossils of ancient plankton miles below the surface. They also found flowing water at depths where they thought the rock would be bone dry and solid. But the biggest problem they faced was the heat, which began to melt their equipment and drill bits. At 7 miles down, the temperature reached over 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which was double what they predicted. The rock behaved more like plastic than stone because the pressure and heat were so intense at that depth. They eventually had to stop because the technology of the time simply could not handle the hellish conditions. There are even urban legends that they stopped because they heard the sounds of souls screaming through the hole. While those stories are just myths, the reality of the heat and pressure was scary enough for the researchers. It proved that the deeper we go, the more the Earth fights back against our attempts to see inside. Since we cannot drill to the center, we have to use other ways to see what is happening under us. Scientists use seismic waves from earthquakes like a giant ultrasound machine to map the internal structures. By watching how these waves bounce and slow down, they can tell if they are hitting liquid or solid. One of the most shocking discoveries made using this method happened quite recently in the year 2014. Researchers from Northwestern University found evidence of a massive reservoir of water deep in the mantle. This water isn't in the form of a liquid ocean like the Atlantic or the Pacific that we know. Instead, the water is trapped inside the molecular structure of a blue rock called ringwoodite. Ringwoodite acts like a sponge, soaking up water molecules and holding them under incredible pressure. This mineral only exists in the transition zone between 400 and 600 kilometers below the surface. If just 1% of the weight of the rock in that zone is water, it is a massive amount. Calculations show there is likely 3 times more water in this layer than in all the surface oceans combined. This discovery changed everything we thought we knew about where the water on our planet came from. It suggests that the oceans might have seeped out from the inside, rather than arriving on icy comets. The Earth is essentially recycling its own water supply over millions of years through this deep hidden layer. This internal water also helps lubricate the movement of tectonic plates, which keeps our planet geologically alive. Without this hidden reservoir, the Earth might be a dry and dead rock like Mars or the Moon. But water isn't the only thing hiding in the deep dark layers of the transition zone and beyond. There is also a massive amount of carbon moving through the planet in what we call the deep carbon cycle. The Deep Carbon Observatory spent 10 years studying the amount of life and carbon buried beneath us. They found that there are between 1 and 4 billion tons of carbon stored deep inside the Earth. This is a staggering number because it is hundreds of times more carbon than what we find in the atmosphere. Most of this carbon is locked away in rocks, but some of it supports a hidden world of life. Scientists discovered that microbes live miles below the surface in tiny cracks in the burning hot rock. These organisms don't need sunlight or oxygen to survive because they eat minerals and chemical energy. This deep biosphere is so massive that it might actually outweigh all of the human beings on the surface. It is a slow-motion world where organisms might live for thousands of years without ever seeing the sun. The carbon down there also feeds the volcanic eruptions that eventually bring gas back to the surface. This constant exchange of carbon acts like a planetary battery that regulates the temperature of our world. If the Earth stopped breathing this carbon back and forth, our climate would likely collapse entirely. As we move even deeper past the mantle, we reach the most powerful part of the entire planet. The core of the Earth is a ball of fire and metal that is as hot as the surface of the sun. It is divided into two parts with a liquid outer core and a solid inner core made of iron. This inner core is a giant sphere of metal about the size of the moon that sits in the center. In early 2023, a study suggested that this inner core has started to slow down its rotation. The core usually spins at a different speed than the rest of the planet because it floats in liquid. But recent data shows that its rotation might have paused or even started to move in the opposite direction. This sounds like a plot from a science fiction movie, but it is a natural part of the Earth's cycle. Scientists believe the core speeds up and slows down in a cycle that lasts about 70 years. Even though this is normal, it still has a huge impact on how our entire planet functions every day. The movement of the liquid iron in the outer core is what creates the magnetic field of the Earth. This magnetic field acts like a giant invisible shield that protects us from deadly solar radiation. Without this shield, the atmosphere would be stripped away and life on the surface would be impossible. Changes in the rotation of the core can cause the magnetic field to weaken or even flip its poles. We have seen evidence in ancient rocks that the North and South poles have swapped many times. When this happens, the shield becomes unstable, and we are exposed to more cosmic rays from space. This can mess with our satellites and power grids, and it might even change the length of our days. The core is essentially the engine room of the planet, and it is currently undergoing a major shift. We are also finding giant structures near the core called large low shear velocity provinces, or blobs. These blobs are the size of continents, and they sit right at the boundary between the core and mantle. One is located under Africa, and the other is sitting directly beneath the Pacific Ocean. Scientists aren't sure what they are, or why they have been there for millions of years. Some think they are the remains of an ancient planet called Theia that crashed into Earth long ago. Others believe they are just piles of extra dense rock that sank to the bottom of the mantle. Whatever they are, they seem to influence where volcanoes form and how heat moves through the Earth. The more we learn, the more we realize that the Earth is not just a pile of dirt and rocks. It is a complex and interconnected system where every layer depends on the one beneath it. The mountains we climb and the ground we build on are just the thin crust of a massive furnace. Deep inside, the heat is so intense that it creates diamonds by squeezing carbon with millions of pounds of force. These diamonds are sometimes carried to the surface by rare volcanic eruptions called kimberlites. When we find a diamond, we aren't just looking at jewelry, but at a messenger from the deep. Some diamonds contain tiny bubbles of gas or minerals that haven't been on the surface for billions of years. They are time capsules that tell us about the chemistry of the world we can never visit in person. Every time an earthquake rattles a city, it is a reminder that the world beneath us is constantly moving. The plates are sliding and crashing because of the heat currents rising from the core like boiling water. This process is called mantle convection, and it is the reason we have continents and oceans at all. If the interior of the Earth cooled down, the plates would stop moving, and the volcanoes would go silent. The magnetic field would vanish, and our blue world would become a barren desert in the sky. We owe our entire existence to the chaotic and burning world that exists miles beneath our feet. It is a strange feeling to know that we are closer to the vacuum of space than we are to the center of our home. The deepest we have ever gone is just a tiny fraction of the distance to the core. There are still so many secrets waiting to be found in the darkness of the lower mantle. We might find more hidden oceans, or perhaps even stranger forms of life that we cannot imagine. The Earth is a mystery that we are walking on every single day of our lives. As technology improves, we might finally develop the tools to see through the heat and the pressure. Until then, we have to rely on the signals the Earth sends us in the form of waves and rocks. The hidden world beneath us is a reminder of how much of our own home is still a frontier. We don't need to go to other planets to find alien environments or unexplored territories. We just need to look down and realize that the greatest adventure is happening right under us. The Earth is a living engine that has been running for over 4 billion years without stopping. It has survived massive collisions and extreme changes while keeping the surface safe for us. Everything you see around you is the result of what is happening in that hidden world of fire. From the air we breathe to the water we drink, it all starts deep in the belly of the planet. Next time you look at a mountain or a stone, think about the journey it took to get here. Think about the miles of crushing pressure and the thousands of degrees of heat it endured. The Earth is not just where we live, but it is a part of who we are and how we survive. It is the final frontier that we are only just beginning to map out with our science. Keep your eyes open and your mind curious, because the ground beneath you is full of secrets. If you want to see what happens when the Earth's magnetic shield actually fails, watch this next video.